your side project is always going to become your main project, I think. And like developing two games, especially as a small studio, is another horrible idea.
To start off, why don't you guys introduce yourselves and then give us the so-called convention pitch for Blade Ballet?
Yes, I'll start.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Kevin Porras. I'm one of the co-founders here, and also I am the producer.
I'm Emma Larkins. I'm the player relations lead and pretty much leading the marketing and business relationships and partnerships and that kind of thing.
Cool. And so tell us about Blade Ballet. What is it? Why should people be interested? Why should they be excited?
All right, Blade Ballet is a multiplayer game of whirling robot destruction. There are 10 unique bots in the game, each with different special abilities and weapons, and you kind of battle against your friends on different arenas. There's a ton of crazy hazards. There's lava, there's lasers, there's falling platforms, a few different cool modes to keep things interesting, and you can play locally and online.
That's a perfect segue into the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So there's two things I really wanted to touch on with this interview. The first being the multiplayer aspect of Blade Ballet, because there's a couple interesting things that have come up. So the first is, as you guys mentioned in your recent PlayStation blog, online multiplayer wasn't something you were originally going to go with. It's something that's kind of been added fairly recently in the development process. And when I read that blog and it said 6 months that really you've been working on this, I was like, whoa, like that's a major feature to be working for only 6 months. So I'd love to learn kind of like when you realized you needed to get on online multiplayer and how, as an independent development team, you stepped up to that challenge and kind of what, from the workflow side, from the development side, some challenges that you overcame and how you approached them.
Yeah, it was a really hard decision. It's something that our CEO like really felt very strongly about. And when we started talking about it at first as a producer, I was like, no, there's no way. Like I think we first started talking about this in probably about March or so, by my memory.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay. Yeah, and when people had brought it up before, I was always like, no, that's a terrible idea for our first game. That's gonna be really, really hard. So it was sort of it was supported by a lot of stuff that we're hearing at conventions and stuff like that. People were always asking, hey, is it going to be online multiplayer? Like this would be really, really great online. And we came to the realization that sometimes it's just a reality of life that you move away from your friends and you guys aren't able to all get around the same TV. I'm not even able to do that with my own friends. So we talked to our lead programmer, and it's something that we became a lot less scared of. So we're able to approach it with like a level head. And thankfully we were able to sort of shift away from developing a lot of new features. I think Blade Ballet, we would have had like more bots and more levels had we not had online multiplayer. But that's something that we're going to be doing post-launch instead.
Yeah.
So basically, we took off 2 or 3 programmers at certain times during our development just to work on online multiplayer. So that slowed down new development of new features, but we're able to get this really what we think is going to be valuable addition to the game, which is online multiplayer, by doing that.
I'd like to shout out to other devs as well. Something that hit me really hard was the Juicy Beast retrospective for Toto Temple Deluxe. And they were so honest. They're basically like, we failed in their retrospective. And they said there was a lot of things that were going on, but they specifically called out being local only and how difficult it was to succeed like that. So we got a lot of feedback from other devs that definitely helped us make that decision.
Excellent. The other side of multiplayer that I've kind of been on a kick with this with any devs I've been talking to about multiplayer is I've been calling it the asymmetrical nature of your multiplayer. Basically where the different bots have vastly different abilities, vastly different ways that they attack, vastly different ways that they even move. Having played the game at PAX East and tried a couple of them out, it's, you're almost playing completely different games when you pick up a different bot. How did you come to the decision to do that? I mean, obviously there's a design decision, but also mechanically, how did you decide to do that, and what challenges does that bring to both design towards launch and then further implementation of additions to the game?
Yeah, I think originally, so the first version of the game was just like 2 cubes. And like their special ability was that they could both jump.
And spin.
Yeah, and spin. Like I think it was a given, like from the inception of Blade Ballet, that you're spinning, right? So, but then jumping really changed the game. We played around with that for a while, and like the first 4 bots, which at the time it was Torque, Catbot, Nyx also, and Vanguard. Those are like first like proto bots. All of them, the only thing they could do was jump, and then like we added charging, which was just like press circle to charge and like jet forward really fast. And we found that was like just really cool to have one more action. But as we created like different looking bots, we looked at them and we're like, these bots probably wouldn't charge. It doesn't make sense that they would. So like we started just experimenting with it. It really almost happened by accident. And then we had to step back and say, oh, wait, this bot like also pierces through shields. Is that their thing? And like, we just sort of had to solidify it at some point. But I mean, honestly, I think it almost happened as an accident that we had special abilities.
Well, it started as a really pure, simple, minimalist kind of an indie game, right? Where it's just like, it was cool, it was fun, almost like a game jam game where it was very encapsulated. And we got this idea, like, we gave a new bot a special ability. I think it was Trigger with the bombs.
Yeah,
was the first one.
Probably.
And then we got into a huge mess because then like the different bots had different abilities. We had to balance those abilities. We had to go back and do new abilities for some of the older bots that are more boring with the new ones. So it got pretty crazy.
Were there any ideas you had for bot abilities that ended up being like you couldn't reconcile them with the rest of the game? Like, are there any that you had to kind of push by the wayside and say, we just can't make this work?
I think it's more like we just pushed the card back on Trello and we're like, let's do this later. So there's like a bot that like has like a whip, and I really want that. And like we just haven't made it yet, but I think we really want to make it. We just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I would say fans too. As soon as you start doing special abilities, everybody wants to get on the special ability train. So like one kid in particular is like, which is the bot that shoots? And we're like, well, this one throws bombs. He's like, well, no, the one that shoots, obviously. Like,
obviously.
Yeah.
Duh, where's your shooting bot?
Knife gun blade bot.
Cool. So obviously the big news is August 9th is your guys' launch day. So having been working on this game for so long and getting to the end, I mean, obviously you're going to keep adding stuff to the game after it launches. What does it look like looking back? What lessons have you learned? What do you think you would have done differently? Kind of looking back, any sort of advice you'd give to other developers in your same kind of position that you wouldn't have known when you started?
I mean, definitely the multiplayer thing. Don't ever do that. and
don't do it midway through, or don't do it at all.
Don't ever do that like midway through. That's not a great idea. And I've heard that before. And as we were making the decision, I knew that. And I was like, how bad could it be? And it's bad. But I would say, like, you have to make when you're like working on a game, like actually, I think this is a really good point when it came to our team. Was we were working on another game before this, and Blade Ballet was almost like this little like break from making our much bigger game called Windrush. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
So like we were working on this really big game, and while we were at PAX Prime last year, we started messing around. I think 2 of our programmers, Neil and Nick, they just came back from a party and they made this tiny little game. And like then we saw this little game and we're like, you know what, like this game is already in like a really fun state, and I think we could like bang this out in like 3 or 4 months. And so we sort of worked on it on the side, and your side project is always going to become your main project, I think. And like developing 2 games, especially as a small studio, is another horrible idea. So, you know, at some point we really had to look to ourselves and be like, what do we actually want to do here? And it was really hard to say, okay, let's stop working on this Windrush thing, even though it's pretty cool. Like Blade Ballet is where our hearts are as indies, and we want to finish this and make this game good. So let's just do that. And we should have made that decision much quicker than trying to balance 2 games at once, because there was some lost time there. But yeah, coming to that realization faster would have been really, really good.
I think a big thing about our team, in particular, what we've seen about the growth, I have to give credit where credit is due to Kevin here. I think for any game studio, it's just such a tricky industry that you're either going to gel or you're going to break. And that was a really interesting moment where, you know, there were times when things looked a little bit dicey, and just like the morale and the way people were working together. But after that kind of dark night of the soul was a beautiful moment when all of a sudden things were clicking and it was really like coming together. Things were going, things that would have taken a month were taking a week now. So it was like really awesome to know, you know, like if you make it as an indie game studio, you will go through this progression where you'll get to that point where you'll come together.
Cool. That you're full of the great segues, because that leads me into my next question, which what's the history of DreamSail? We like to find out kind of what your guys' backstory is, where you came to indie development from, and in this case, where we've got a couple people from the company, I'd like to know more of how you guys came together as a group to form DreamSail Games.
Yeah, so me and Justin went to the NYU Game Center together. Justin Sanders, he's our like lead founder. He worked at Insomniac for a couple of years down in their like I guess North Carolina campus. So he worked on some of the Ratchet and Clank games and stuff like that. But we had gone to school together. We like made a lot of like student projects together. So like when we went off, you know, we just sort of were like, okay, see you later. But he came back out of nowhere and basically said, hey, like let's form a company, let's do this. And I was like, okay, let's.
And he poached you.
Yeah. And I left Scholastic. I was making games for them. So after that, you know, we looked between the 2 of us, and we're like, we really need a programmer. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to make a game. So we picked up Nick Gomes and also Neil Severi. They're both our, you know, sort of 4 founders of the company. And then we sort of just started making things from there. And like, you know, I'd like to think that when we add people to our team, it's because we meet people that are interested in doing what we want to do. And what we do here at DreamSail Games is we make multiplayer games, whether that be local or online. The point is, like, I think that the coolest experiences in gaming comes from playing with other players and you guys all buying into some sort of social contract and seeing what people do in those situations that are not normal. So you're not like a robot with like a crazy sword attached to you every day. What will you do when you have to fight your friends as this robot? You know, and we want to go further with that theme in all of our future games. I want them all to be multiplayer, and probably online multiplayer from the start. So, and we sort of just like added to our team as people seemed interested in what we were doing. Like for example, Emma, you know, I think I met you at like one of the local New York meetups.
No, I got on through Twitter. I saw a tweet.
So that's how you found out about it. But
Yeah,
like looking back, I remember seeing you like out of the corner of my eye when you were like pitching Heart Catchers.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah. Because I was working on a tabletop game. I think my background comparatively is like a twisted, convoluted journey through tech and startups and art, writing, kind of this wending path that ultimately coalesced in the marketing and really the developing the community and just growing this, like growing a game company from a community of 0 to hopefully much larger than that is definitely an adventure. And I think it pulls on such a diverse skill set that it really helps for anyone who wants to do this to have a diverse background.
Awesome. So, moving from that to you guys as gamers, we always like to ask, one, what kind of games have informed you as a developer, and what games are you playing now? Like, what's on your list? Now, obviously, of course, there's a little bit of Blade Ballet in there. I'm sure, as developers, you're playing a bunch of that. But what other ones are out there that are taking up some of your game time?
What are you playing?
It's a lot of Overwatch right now.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's pretty much the craze that's sweeping both the nation and our company. Most of us pretty much are playing that. Also, speaking of sweeping the company, there's this little mobile game you might have heard of that came out where you have to pick between 3 different primary colors.
Oh, no.
Kevin and I are both, you're Valor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both Team Valor.
Oh, is there a division in the company?
Yeah, there's a pretty brutal split, actually. So
it was very clear that we were going Team Valor, and
he
somebody
was,
went
yeah.
Mystic, and
so
then
people are insight, and it's just like it's evolving into instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's devolving into chaos.
is that all? Emma doesn't have time to play games right now. We're like,
Well, also Legion, the new World of Warcraft, like that is my dirty secret that I play World of Warcraft quite a bit. Yeah, the patch, and then
I saw
Legion.
the patch notes today, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no.
I have to go.
I had to redo my bars completely. Like I spent like several hours just figuring out on my hunter like what my new abilities would be. Anyways, enough about Warcraft.
I'm probably gonna play that tonight. I love World of Tanks so much. I've been playing that for like 5 years or 4 years or whatever. I love that game.
Is that
and
where
also,
robots came from?
what?
Kind of robotic
No,
machine.
that's not where the robots came from. And also, like I play a lot of like tabletop games, so like Warhammer and that kind of stuff. So I love those kinds of games.
Cool. So finally, wrapping things up, are there any other indie development companies out there who you think are doing something really cool right now, either mechanically, design-wise, artistically, that you think people should be paying attention to as developers?
How much time do I have? I just
rattle off a few. There's no limit.
Gosh.
We just like really seeing what piques developers' interests.
Yeah, there's so much stuff out there. I would say, first of all, in the indie game sector, and I'm going to feel bad because I've met so many people and I'm going to leave some people out for sure. But one of the recent groups I had time to spend some time with at EVO was Rivals of Aether. So George and a couple of people were there showing it off. Not Dan at EVO, but there was a bunch of people. It's a really great multiplayer game. I found out it was built in Game Maker, which is insane. The fact that they could do that is super impressive. And it's always interesting to see other devs where I look up to them. I'm like, oh my gosh, Rivals, it's such a polished game. Like you have such a great community, and they're like, you have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. The person you look up to most of all is always things aren't perfect, so that's good to know. I also got a chance to see Invisigun Heroes at PAX, at PAX East. Wait, or did I say PAX South? I forget. But that's a really pretty small, and they're just starting out too. But it's like an awesome mechanic where you can't see your characters. So I think that's really awesome. Being really experimental, and indies can do that. Clusterpuck 99 out of the Philadelphia Collective. They have a space completely for game design, which is so cool, and I really hope I can go down there sometime. And an awesome game. I think there's a million others I could shout out too, but I would say from the marketing perspective particularly, I have a huge respect for Blizzard, and I know they're a huge company, so it's easier for them, but I think it's smart for indies, and I would say for anyone to kind of look at what people are doing and their responsiveness to the fans, putting out characters like Tracer, content, and building up this emotional connection to their game even before it launches, and starting so early, and being willing to change. So they'll midstream, they'll cancel a game, they'll go in a different direction. So I think all of us indies could really learn a lot from the kinds of things that they do.
Kevin, anybody you think is doing something really cool?
I really like. There's this kid named Wilhelm out in, I guess, Stockholm, Sweden, right? Hopefully that's the same place. I don't know. Show me pull out a map. This kid, he's running this company called Landfall Games, and he just put out this. Oh, damn it! What's the name of the game? It's this game where you're jumping from truck to truck. Have you seen it?
Yeah, Cluster
Oh,
Truck.
Cluster Truck?
Yeah, Cluster Truck.
Yeah.
And he just signed with Tiny Build, and like I had seen this kid's game when he was working on like this flying game called Air Brawl, and I was like checking out for all other flying games because we were making a flying game. And I just thought it's amazing to see like another studio on the other side of the world like achieve success, and that's so cool. And I think he's like just like 19 right now, and like has a team of 3, and it's awesome. And Tiny Build looks like they're really taking care of them over there.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, Cluster Truck looks wicked awesome. And if you haven't seen, they just opened up the alpha sign up for Totally Accurate Battle Simulator.
Oh yeah.
So just looking at it's something. It's
Yeah,
fun.
I look at these games and it's just like, you made that in like a week.
I know, it's pretty incredible.
Oh wait, I do have to shout out Quasi too with Skyhook. That's pretty small. I don't know if you've played it, but like I didn't think I was gonna get into the swinging mechanic, but I got so addicted to it so fast. And he also streams his development and art on Twitch, so I think it's a really great example to devs to really share your content. And he's a Twitch partner, and he's just cool to hang out with. So.
And he's local, right?
Yeah, he's upstate now.
Oh,
he
really?
was,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that guy around. He's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kevin Porras and Emma Larkins, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to catch us up a little bit on your history and what's going into Blade Ballet.
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's been super fun. Thanks for
Yeah.
chatting with us.